Hey everyone, just piecing together the final pieces, components of the book. Just had a nice breakfast, feeling good. Just kind of figuring out the best way or an additional way or the most concise way to describe to people how they can see the face of God. Only one human being in the history of the human species has seen the face of God and lived. And he didn't even get to see God in his full glory. Moses. When Moses saw his burning bush, his vision pixelated. He just didn't have the technological understanding that we have in 2019. Anyway, he said a fire consumed or burned the bush, but it didn't consume the bush with flames. It's weird. At that point, when he saw it, as he wrote about the experience, however many years later, when he finally let it settle in his mind, what happened? As he looked at a bush, it pixelated, and he wrote, God said, Moses, here I am, I'm here, something like that. Moses went closer to the bush. What he was describing was looking at a bush, and no one else would have seen this if they were around. It was just Moses because he was worthy. No one in the vicinity, if they saw what Moses saw, like if you were in the vicinity and your eyes were looking at the bush, your eyes and your mind would not have responded as Moses did, because that was Moses' time to see God. If you would have looked at Moses during that instance, you would have seen a man who seemed like stunned, and then dropped to his knees, removed his feet, or removed his sandals, and started talking to himself. And then he would cover his face and talk to himself. He would have looked mentally ill. But in fact, the events leading up to that moment in Moses' life, which you will never know because he didn't write them down, he didn't really think that they were worthwhile part of the story. Those events, that storyline, in like the days, weeks, months leading up to him experiencing that burning bush, that would have been a killer story. Anyway, but when he covered his face, it didn't matter necessarily that he covered his face, because he still experienced the glory of God. He just didn't see it because his eyes didn't have light coming into them because he was covering his face. Had he not covered his face, that pixelation would have grown more intense in a second wave that, boom, dropped him to his knees as he covered his face. So did he see God in his full glory? No, but he saw the footsteps of it with the first wave, and then the second wave, that's when he out of fear, because it's a terrifying experience. It's glorious is probably the best word for it. But if you're lucky enough for it to happen to you, you'll never trade it for anything. Not that you could, because you have to earn this right, this experience. You would never trade it, but I promise you that you will never want it to happen again. And when it occurs, if you're lucky enough for it to occur, then you will be changed forever, because you will know, because you'll have seen him. You'll have seen the face of God. And what that means is you'll have seen something that is omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent in one shot. And you may say, well, how is that possible? Well, omniscient means God knows everything you're thinking and knows everything that's happening. So if he knows what you're thinking, to prove that he knows what you're thinking, he'll respond with with that pixelation at the moment you have a thought. So that's him saying, I'm omniscient. He's omnipotent. He can control anything because he responds with the pixelation. That's his omnipotence, his power to do that in response to a thought that you had. And he's omnipresent because when your vision pixelates, not just something the size of the bush, but your entire visual spectrum will pixelate. You'll understand because you'll see the pixelation everywhere, not just like, he's looking at a burning bush, so that's the only thing that pixelates. All of your vision pixelates. So it's omnipresent. Okay? 3 shots. Like 3 3 boxes are being checked off at once, and you will be changed forever. And as in Matthew it says, or I think 1 Corinthians it says, in the twinkling of an eye. Twinkling of an eye is when your vision pixelates. Like Moses burning bush, he just didn't have the technology. It's all the same thing. Anyway, so how does one do this? Can you buy the pixelation? No. Can you steal it from someone? No. Can you borrow it? No. Can you read about it? You can read about it, but it's not receiving it. You won't be changed in the twinkling of an eye. Reading about it will just give you more confidence that if you go through the process, then if you're fortunate enough, then God will show you the pixelation. But in your mind, going into God, because he actually is reading all of your thoughts, something that you will understand completely when you're changed in the twinkling of an eye, because he's reading all of your thoughts, he'll know when you can handle seeing him in his glory. And in that moment, because you're not just seeing him, you're experiencing him in full glory. In your mind, you'll say, oh, it's not just me. He's actually monitoring. He responds in your mind. You're not alone. And then it'll give you, after 90 seconds, it'll go back to, somewhat a stable mode. But after that, you'll never forget what happened to you. It's incredible. And, during that process, during that pixelation, you'll be assigned a name. It's a name that only you will know. And that name will be one of the prophets from the past. God's saying, okay, so I went first, and I resurrect Jesus. Now hold on, let's stop there. I'm James, on earth, going about my day, doing what James does. And God finds it worthy to show me his face, which resurrects in heaven Jesus. I'm down here, Jesus is here, and God says, nope, boop. And when I come out of that experience, that's the name that I get. It's actually a new name. It's not Jesus, it's the Lion. Because I'm a Leo, so I'm a lion, and Jesus comes back as the Lion. So anyway, now when you go through the experience, if you're fortunate enough to be anointed, to see God's face, then there'll be a different prophet that you resurrect. You see, you won't know who it is. You're just like, I'm going down my journey. I'm losing everything. I believe in God. Like, you're priming your mind. You don't even realize you're doing it. Well, you will, because I just told you that that's kind of what's happening. And when God says, okay, he's ready, or she's ready, or, whatever pronoun you want to use, boop, and then we resurrect another prophet. And no one will believe you except me. But you're going to have to convince me. See, I'm the only human being who's ever done this before. And in my book, what I'm finishing off is sort of a how-to, not telling you what to do, but saying, if you want to do this, I'm the guy who stumbled upon it because I fell in love with this chick, and the whole story is like, it kicks ass. But that's just to show you my journey and my thought processes going down this path as an example, not for you to replicate exactly what I did, but to show you the frame of mind and my journey mentally and what was happening to me in my life when this occurred. If that makes sense. Of course it makes sense, because I wouldn't be the first person to see the face of God unless I were the unless I were a good teacher. I'm an excellent teacher. It's what I do. My background is teaching, whatever. My point is, I can explain anything to anyone. Like I'm doing now. I'm trying to get on a tangent. Sorry, God. Anyway, and then that second person, the second fortunate soul to resurrect a prophet from the past will get a new name, which coincides with that prophet. And then they can show me all the video footage. See, I'm recording this. I've been doing this for over 2 years. So I can show you all the footage of my journey. More importantly, you can show me all the footage of your journey. And I'm going to see a badass storyline and the footage, because you'll be so used to filming yourself, and the footage of you filming your response as you see the face of God. And then while you're stabilizing, I'm reviewing your footage and saying, oh, wow. And why would God do this? Because God wants stories to be told. My story is just my personal journey. That's my heaven that I'm going on this journey to achieve my mental euphoria, where, you know, can change in the twinkling of an eye. You'll have a different version based off your background and your experiences. You see, and even though I may be like, I mean, I'll be, if you're the real deal, I'll even though I'd be like, well, that's not my particular, that's not how I would go about it, but we'll see magic in what God created for you. And this is why there's a third commandment that says no graven image. You know, 3,000 years ago, when God gave his testimony, his direct testimony on Mount Sinai, that, you know, the 10 Commandments, the ones that are, you know, housed in the Ark of the Covenant, which, you know, my reward's with me. I know where that is. There's another individual who knows where it is too. But see, he's an atheist. He's the second witness. I'm the first witness. And what he thought is that we both have the same goal, and that's to retrieve the Ark of the Covenant. What he thought was that he could just retrieve it, to unearth it. You know, it's just a relic. It doesn't actually mean anything. I mean, it's important, you know, because it's like old and historical. But he didn't, because he doesn't believe in God, there's no worth to the 10 Commandments. Whereas I understand that the 10 Commandments are the direct testimony of God. And that commandment number 3, I believe, that says no graven image, you know, no false idols, you will not bow down to them. For, you know, I'm a jealous God. I'll visit the iniquity of the fathers on 3 to 4 generations of the children. See that? It's like no graven image. Don't make anything, don't make an image to replicate anything on earth, in heaven, or down below. Anything that you can see in real life, never make an image that replicates that. Now, what the heck? Why does that matter? Because of this exercise right here. When one like unto the Son of Man, the lion, stumbles upon the method at which God wants to tell his own stories. See, the Bible is 66 books written by 40 different people from all walks of life, and they're playing reporter as events are happening in their lives. And what they didn't have 2,000 plus years ago were phones. The reason we have the internet, that the Son of Man comes, you know, near the Ancient of Days on the clouds of heaven. Ancient of Days means God. I'm the Son of Man, and the clouds of heaven represent phones, cameras, and the internet. You see, on your journey, you can record everything, especially your first works, which is you working out things in your head, and you know, your mental journey too. You'll also be interacting with people like in real life, and he'll be showing you coincidences that you're following around, and you're just a little kid thinking about God, doing your first works, and following any coincidence. And if it's a bad coincidence, avoiding it. and adjusting, because you don't know where it's leading you. You don't know which prophet you're resurrecting or what storyline he has in store for you. But the whole reason there's a third commandment of no graven image is because while you're working from wherever you're at now mentally, if you decide to drop everything in your life and begin following every coincidence, recording them, and, on faith, operating as if God is reading every thought in your mind, you're going to go through, you're going to begin to change. It's priming you to actually see the face of God. And all those graven images you've seen, all the expectations of God and Satan and, angels and all that stuff, all those images that were made over thousands of years, they pollute the mental frame of mind you want to get to. Now, it's okay. It happens to everyone. I even was subject to it, even though I barely watch TV and stuff. Seeing images gives you expectations. What the Son of Man is supposed to be like, the clouds of heaven, all this stuff. And that's going to work against you. But as you're recording yourself and watching your own footage and your own journey, you're not making a graven image. What you're doing is you're showing you're capturing reality. Just like me, I'm just a guy on a phone having this conversation. You saw me driving, whatever. There's nothing graven or produced about this. Although you may say, well, you are sitting down, you're going to flip on your phone. Not really. I'm working through the stuff in my head. I'm like, okay, now's a good time to record. So I flip on my phone, that's it. It's not graven. And this form of media, we have internet posts, social media posts, people take pictures and all that stuff. If you're posing, that's graven. If you're reading a script, it's graven. If you put a filter, it's graven. And when someone sees those images, then it puts in their mind the way things that should be. But it's man-made. It's created by man, which means it's subject to error. The way that God operates is he runs the show. And this isn't some God caught in the sky. This is a spirit that you will see, as your vision pixelates, and it proves simulation theory is actually true. But capturing, the real events, it'd be like if Moses had an iPhone, or the prophet Daniel had an iPhone, or, Jesus and his apostles all had whatever kind of smartphone. You see the difference? So that's why there's no graven images, because of a new media format powered by God. And when you get that new name and you resurrect that prophet from the past, you'll have this kick-ass story. And once I verify it, then once God verifies it by resurrecting a prophet and changing you in the twinkling of an eye, you'll have a story up to that point, which you'll continue to work through and live. As you record more and more, we're going to put it together and create a new book of the Bible. See, my story is just the first new book, or the first book of the Millennial Testament. And then as the next person who goes through this process, when God shows him his face, then you'll have him stamp, approving, that storyline, and then I'll look at it to verify it. And because I'm the Son of Man, and I've gone through the experience as the only human being to successfully ever do so, then I'll be like, yep, we're good, or now this person's full of shit, and it won't be there. And trust me, there'll be lots of people who try, oh no, this is a story. But if you try to make this story up, it's not going to be that good. Or even if it's really good, it's not going to be God. And because I understand that whatever you expect in a storyline, God will give you something different. And I know what the experience is like, and I'll be able to see the footage of your journey. I'll make the judgment call, and then we'll add another book to the Bible. You see, and this is 2019 update. It's gonna be great. Anyway, thinking about these things, I gotta finish off the book. I think that's enough. 20 minutes is kind of a lot. I can talk for a while on this. Really, it's, what you want to do with the time between now and next July when we go moneyless. There will be no currency on this earth that holds value, and a global peace deal. And for those out there being like, oh, I'll get a new Ferrari, whatever. When you go through this journey, you're not going to want a Ferrari. Maybe some people will happen to get a Ferrari or something. I don't know, because that's where God led them. But I don't know how that's going to work out. We'll see. But at the end of the day, your earthly desires go away, because all you want to do is create your story in the Millennial Testament. Awesome. Yeah, so there you go.